yes, 2 days ago. 2 days ago's daf was about kids, what age kids could do kinyanim and all that.
Tiago, right? One second before you start, what time are we doing tomorrow?
Oh, what time? I don't know what time is the early Shabbos. Should be probably 5 minutes earlier. 5:40.
You want to do? And matzah?
5:40 and matzah Shabbos. What time is this? 27 here. It's 40. Let's shoot for 10 to 10.
You said, I didn't know what you said.
5:40 tomorrow and 10 to 10. Matzah Shabbos. Naftali, there's nothing about Kahanim tonight's stuff, as far as I know.
Oh, thanks for telling me before I got invested in this. I'm going to sign off now.
Look who's back.
Yeah. You're
welcome.
Anyway, so 2 days ago we were discussing katanim, kinyanim, right? With the different age group, who can do kinyanim, this and that. So 2 kids swapped out MP3 players and had azam machlokes about it. 2 kids just over bar mitzvah. One kid gave him it sounded like a sports trade. One kid gave the other kid a MP3 player plus $20. And then the kid didn't like it. It didn't cut and paste back and forth. I was thinking this is why the Gemara said kids can't be doing these kinyanim.
They're not kids, they're over bar mitzvah.
But they are over mitzvah. Then I realized what's up. A lot of adults getting into these fights too. So it's not a riot, right? Okay, and then today a fascinating thing happened. When we get to it in the daf, I'll tell you another fascinating thing. Anyways, so we're on the bottom of Samach Vav Amud Beis. First part of tonight's daf is hard, and then after that it's pretty easy. And then tomorrow and the next day we have the Refuah Gemaras, right? Just a lot of look at the size of the next 2-3 block, and it's all about the Refuahs. Like what type of? We'll see tonight.
Can we do the Taisus in?
Definitely. Maybe we'll do the Taisus instead of the Gemara, Naftali.
Right, that's what we should do. On Samach Zion, on the base, we'll do the 2 Taisus in.
That's right. But anyway, so we're discussing about a husband makes 2 guys or 3 guys into shluchim to do a get. So the question is, can they go ask somebody else to write the get? Did the husband mean? It's a bunch of questions. Did the husband mean when he said to write the get, did they mean that they should write it, be the Eidim? So we're trying to figure out. So Shmuel had a problem with the Gemara. So he said Shmuel's going according to Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yossi holds that yes, Mili is not Mimser l'shliach, meaning if you ask a shliach to go take something to somebody, you give him like food and say, go bring this food to somebody else. So then that shliach can go make another person to a shliach. That's pashut. But if you ask a shliach to do something, all you did was words, then he can't go, according to Rabbi Yossi, he cannot go ask somebody else to do it. So if you ask the guy to write a get, and he goes and asks somebody else to write a get, according to Rabbi Yossi, that doesn't work. But the Gemara said, but if you tell the guy to tell somebody else to write a get, then that would work. Right? But Aimer Amroi, if he tells somebody to go ask about it, to go do a get, then that works. So the Gemara asks, and I would have 7 lines up from the bottom. Umi Maida Rav Yossi ba'Aimer Amroi. So we said Rav Yossi's Maida ba'Amar Amroi that you could do this, meaning again, you go tell somebody to tell somebody else to write a get. So is Rabbi Yossi Maida that you could go do this? Well, now we learned in the Mishnah. This is a long kasha now. Ksav Sefer ve'ed kosher, right? So a get that was written by a cipher and one witness, right? The get is kosher. Yeah, meaning the assumption is that the cipher also signed as a witness. Right? We're talking about where the cipher signed it, right? Meaning he didn't write it. I guess he did write it, but the point is that he was one of the guys that signed on it, right? So now We need to do a bunch of things before we get to the kasha. So again, if the cipher writes it and an aid, one aid is kasha. He says it's only if the cipher signed it. If he didn't sign it, then it can't be a good get. Must need some money. Who is this Mishnah going? Like Rabbi Yossi, it's going like Rabbi Yossi, the Amr Bigli like Mimson and the Shliach. That you can't hand off words to a Shliach. Right? So Memela, since words can't be handed off to a Shliach, so Memela, a cipher is not going to sign a get because he wasn't appointed to sign the get. He was just appointed to write the get. He wasn't a Shliach to sign it. Fine. And if you say that Rabbi Yossi's Maida, where he tells somebody to go tell somebody, Nafik mina churva, what's going to happen is going to be a churva. Something bad's going to happen here. Because if you hold that Rabbi Yossi says that you're allowed to go ask somebody to ask somebody, the Zimnin, the Amrlu Lishnayim, because sometimes the husband's going to tell two guys, on Tamid Aleph now, they're going to say, go tell the cipher. I mean, again, the husband goes over to two guys, tells them, please go hire this cipher to write a get. So that's Amira to an Amira, which right now we say works according to Rabbi Yossi. Well, the Pliny or Pliny, and then V'yachtim, and then Pliny and Pliny should be the signatures. Right. So again, he asked them to hire one guy to do this, to do the writing, two guys to sign it. But the shluchim are worried about the embarrassment of the cipher. And what they're going to do is one is going to sign it, and the cipher is going to be the other one. Right? So meaning they're saying we're afraid that these guys are going to feel like, why can't the cipher be an aid? The cipher can be an aid. Why didn't they ask him to be an aid? Must be they don't trust the cipher to be an aid. So since the cipher is going to be embarrassed, they decide to let him write now. And right, Ubal loy amar hachin, the husband didn't say this. So essentially, what the Gemara is saying could happen here is if you're saying that telling somebody to tell somebody else to sign on a get, so if that works, right? So what's going to happen here? He hired two guys to tell a cipher to write a get, and two guys to sign it, right? And we're afraid that they're embarrassed for the cipher's sake, because why wasn't the cipher just trusted as a signature on this get? Elamai is embarrassed. So these guys are going to let the cipher sign the get, right? Now, if this get is no good, then what's going to happen? This woman's going to go get remarried based on this get, and the husband never asked the cipher to sign it. So she's going to go get remarried on this, and it's going to be a big churva, right? Now, why didn't Rabbi Yossi tell them that there's going to be a churva from this, right? Meaning, I'm sorry, what you could do is Rabbi Yossi could have said, just don't let the cipher sign, right? Why? Well, shouldn't he have said that? Just don't let a cipher sign it.
Right? We should be more worried about that than the guy's feelings.
That's true. That's 100%. But the Eidim are misguided. There's no question about it. The Eidim would be.
We're not talking about a sofer who was able to write the get, but he doesn't know how to sign his name.
No, it's really they didn't trust him to sign his name. That's what I think.
So how can we not trust him? We trust him to write it lishma, right? Now we don't trust him. How can we not trust him?
I know it's a weird thing, but that's what it is.
Is he related to the wife?
The signature is more important than who writes the get, correct? Right?
How is it any less important? If it has to be lishma, it'd be long before the signatures are there. It may not be kosher in essence.
Okay, whatever it is, whatever the lumdus is, but the point of the Gemara's kasha is that Rabbi Yossi didn't say a comment here, right? So Elamai must be because he held that the get was not good. The get is not good because it's words handed over to words, right? Meaning mili that's handed over to mili, which doesn't work. Right? That's what the Gemara is saying. So one answer is no. Kivan Damar Mar Kosher v'loy Sasa came to Yisrael. Since we're going to see later on in the Gemara that this type of get would be kosher because we're saying one shliach can talk to another shliach and it works, but we're not supposed to do this. It shouldn't be done. So loy shliach. So therefore, since the psak is that it shouldn't be done, so therefore it's not common for this to happen. We don't have to worry about this situation happening. All right. So the Gemara asks a similar kasha. The beit trey. Why don't we be chashish that he's going to tell two people, Imru l'sayfer, tell the Seifer to write of Atim Chasuma, and you guys sign it. V'azli Hanoch, Mishum Kesuva the Seifer, and then these guys are going to go, and they're going to be worried about the embarrassment of the Seifer, and they're going to have the Seifer signed as one of them. The husband didn't say this, right? So, and they could have just said, just tell the Seifer that he's not allowed to do it, but they didn't say that. Must be that it was never. It's not a good get. So again, the Gemara says the same teretz. Amri honami kosher v'loy sasu. It's this cause. This is also the get is kosher, but you shouldn't do it. Right? Fine. So the Gemara says, well, that's all very nice. Hanicha l'mando amar. This is good according to the mando amar. That says kosher v'loy sasu. But el l'mando amar kosher v'sasa. But according to mando amar that says this type of get is kosher, and you could even do it. So then why aren't we chayshit for nichshel? Michael, what are you going to say? Ella, Rav Yosi Tarti Amar. Rav Yosi is saying two things, right? Meaning he's saying that in the case in the Mishnah, when the guy told two people to write the get, or he told three people to write the get, that's all going to be no good if they don't do it the way the husband said. Shmuel paskins like Rabbi Yossi in one case, right? In the case where the husband didn't tell the shluchim to get somebody to write it, right? So then he holds the shluchim can't do it on their own. But he disagrees with Rabbi Yossi in the other case where the husband told the shluchim to get somebody to write it, and they listened. Right, so there he says that the get is okay by Aimer Amra. So again, Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yossi, but Mili is loy mimser l'shliach, and he what I just say? He doesn't. Yeah, he holds like him that Mili is loy mimser l'shliach, but he does hold of Amira la'amira. That he does hold. Okay, that's a little bit hard to understand the Shakar type. Nagamar says Gufa Amar Shmuel Amar Rebbe Halacha Rabbi Yossi. So it says the Rabbi Yossi that words are not mimser on the shliach, and you can't. If you're told to do something, you can't go tell somebody else to do it. Some of the fun of Rav Shimon Berebi, so Rav Shimon Berebi said to Shmuel, Meir and Chanina of Ish Ainai are chalik on Rabbi Yossi. Ma ra Rebbe lemer halacha Rabbi Yossi. So why is Rebbe passing like Rabbi Yossi if you have these other gedolim against him? Right? So Amar lo shtuk b'ni shtuk, be quiet. Right? Lo reisas Rabbi Yossi, you haven't seen Rabbi Yossi. Ilmale reisai nimuka imay. If you would have seen him, then you would know that he has his reasons. All right? Meaning, Rabbi Yossi knows when Rabbi Yossi holds something, you don't start over Rabbi Yossi. That's basically what he's saying. He's saying you, Rebbe, Shimon Berebi, don't want to pass on like Rabbi Yossi because you never saw him. That, right? The Tanya, now the Gemara goes through a whole bunch of Tanaim and their abilities. Isa ben Yehuda would say over praise about the Chachamim. Rameir, Chacham, v'Seifer. Rameir was a Chacham and a Seifer. Yeah, Rabbi Yehuda, Chacham, the Kasher Yirtzeh. See, that one sounds like that one really sounds like a report card. He's very good when he wants, right? I'm sure we've all seen that wonderful phrase from the teacher. If he wants, he can have everything, right? So, but it's very interesting because he's saying Rabbi Yehuda was a chacham when he wants, right? Now, who's better? No, I mean, it sounds like Rabbi Yehuda was a big man, but when he wanted to, it sounds to me what it is that he was a big Talmud Chacham. You could understand him when he lowered himself down to our level. Right? If you look at Taisus, you see Taisus says Chacham l'shigirtze. It says there, Yosim Rameir. That he's a bigger Talmud Chacham than Rameir. V'dilma Rameir Charif umaksha. Maybe Rameir was very sharp and he asked a lot of questions. Rav Yehuda masan umasik. Rav Yehuda was like masan, like soft and masik. He had gavna arena b'sayf furious. Okay, whatever it is, I'm not sure it's a competition, but that's what it sounds like according to Rav Yossi. So Rav Yehuda could have just blown everybody out of the water, but if he calmed himself down, he was able to I guess lower himself to the regular people's levels. Rav Tarfon, Gal Shala Goizim. Rav Tarfon was a pile of nuts, right? So Rashi says, right, when you take a nut from a pile, I don't know why he has to say nut. It could be a fruit also. They all collapse onto each other, right? So Rashi says so the same thing. When you ask the kasha on Reb Tarfon, he would just pile on all the sources to.
I don't know if that's the big deal. When I was young, they called me nuts also.
Very good, Rachman. Yeah,
Not anymore. Because you
Not
can't
anymore.
stop piling on. That's the problem. You keep piling on and piling on.
Here, Rabbi Shmuel, Chanus miyuzenes, right? Rabbi Shmuel was a store that literally means that that could actually give you food, right? Meaning, it sounds like a stocked. Meaning, you didn't have to wait. Oh yeah, that's basically was like a takeout. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Rashi says it's about the wine was ready. I guess the equivalent back then of a takeout, right? A wine takeout where you don't have to deal with all the aerators and the this and the that. You just got your wine and you went. Rebbe Kiva Eitzer Bolum. Rebbe Kiva was an Eitzer with portions. A very interesting Rashi here. Obviously, we don't have the time to do the whole Rashi. Rashi pretty much goes through the Derech Halimud of Rebbe Kiva. All right. Where first he made a big like a cholent out of it, and then he separated all very masudah for his talmid. Okay, Rabbi Yochanan Menuri, Kupas HaRoichlin. He was like a box of, from the Chilas, the people that they peddled their wares, right? And they come with all sorts of things in that box. So mainly he has tons of sources. Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah Kupa Shop Psamim is a box of psamim. Right? So Rashi there says that he's saying the difference between a roichel and a psamim. He has more, and he has them separated, and they're all ready to go. Masha'en kain, that's the psamim one. Masha'en kain, the roichel, he has it all mixed up in the box, and it needs a little bit more seder. Mishnah Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov kav v'naki. Any Mishnah from Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov was clean and had weight to it. All right, meaning that's why we paskin. Anytime Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says something, we paskin like that. Rabbi Yossi nimukayima. That's how we got into this whole thing. Rabbi Shimon taichen harbe umaitzi kima. Rabbi Shimon grinds a lot and he lets out a little. What does that mean? Meaning he grinds a lot, but he gets everything very, very clear, right? Tanam. Now, it's interesting because it sounds like the Gemara is saying the different Tanaim had, meaning these Tanaim didn't have everything, right? Like we call the 5-tool player in baseball, right? Doesn't meaning each one had each gadol here had their own milas. Right. So anyway, the ton of Mishkach Kima, he forgot very little. And what he let out The only thing that he forgot was the junk, meaning the real Torah, everything he remembered, he just didn't remember junk, which is what they said about Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Right? They said he didn't know, he didn't remember birthday, he didn't remember anything. The only thing he remembered was Torah. Right? He used up all his brain power to remember Torah, and that's it. Fine. Learn my midas, my learning. Right? Rashi says midas means his Torah. Shemidaisi truma, mitrumas midas of Rebbe Kiva. My Torah is like trumas of Rebbe Kiva, meaning because he took what Rebbe Kiva taught him, and he sharpened it up and cleared it up, and he only taught the main things that Rebbe Kiva said. Fine. Gufa, now back to Gittin. If a guy says two people, tell the cipher to write a get. Well, the plenty of then go get two other guys to sign on the star, sign on the get. Amar Ravuna, Amar Rav, kosher, it's kosher. But Veloy Sasa Zois be Yisrael, but don't do it. To kosher a get, again, he told two guys to get a cipher to write a get, and then he told two other guys to sign it. He said it's a kosher get, don't do it. Since it's kosher, why should you do this in Yisrael? Why shouldn't you do it? No, we're afraid that if you're going to hire people to go hire other people, then a lady is going to go over to somebody and she's just going to say, she's going to hire two guys to go over to two guys in the street and tell them, by the way, can you write a star? Can you write a get or sign a get for this guy, for Yankel? Now, Yankel never made them into a shliach. This lady concocted the whole thing. The wife concocted the whole thing, right? And the guys say, "Oh, okay. So two Adam. What do you mean? Two Adam told me to go write a get for him. It was sheker, right? So therefore, we need the husband.
How do you verify it? How do you verify it? Because the shliach shel adam is like,
Well, that's the thing. So that's exactly right. So you need the husband to tell the shliach. You cannot have shluchim telling other shluchim. That's right, Aaron. That's exactly what the Gemara is saying. Because if you can have shluchim telling other shluchim, then you could have somebody scam the system, right? So that's what we're afraid of. So the Gemara asks, "We chashina, we're chashiv for that." But Tanya, Edim chasun al sadim stay mekach, Edim that sign on a field of a purchase. I'll get isha loy chashiv chol davar. Chachamim, we're not worried about it. Why not? Because we're going to look at the signatures. Right, so we're not afraid of false signatures because we're going to try and prove the signatures. Yeah. So the Gemara answers, "Ma'isa lo yavdi." The dibura ka'amri. Now the Gemara gives you a psychological thing. Ma'isa lo yavdi. People are not going to lie and do an actual ma'isa, right? But dibura they will. Meaning, we're saying that if you're going to want to say that these Eidim are scammers, that takes a lot of gumption and a lot of guts to go take a get and do it falsely. But stam to go over to tell somebody, by the way, sign a get for that you're allowed, that people are willing to do. So that's what we have to be choshev for. Now, you hear what it's saying? Meaning stam to say a sheker, people will do. To actually do a ma'aser sheker, that people are not willing to do.
I mean, the whole the funny nechta is Shema just in case the Baal is ma'arir that it's a false star. That means the Edom are lying. It means the whole beginning of Gittin is not like this.
Why?
We are chayshish that the Edom will lie in the star. Otherwise, what's the irabal?
What do you mean? He's there. You're talking about with the signatures or without the signatures?
With the signatures. You have a get come before Bezdin. The shliach who brings it needs to say b'fanei nechta. Why? Just in case the Baal is ma'arir that it's a fake fake get. It's a forged get. That means that we are chayshish that Adam will sign falsely on a get. They'll do something, not just say something.
Interesting. I don't know. I'm saying you are. Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure. Did you ask this kasha the other night, or did I see this kasha somewhere? Similar with the whole Adam thing.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't you? I hear. Okay, I don't know. Fine. Okay, but anyways, that's the Gemara saying this. He said people are willing to lie by just talking they'll lie, but to actually go do something about a lie, then that's a problem. Amr l'shnayim, right? If a husband said to two people, Imru l'sayfer v'yichtei v'atem chasumer, go tell the cipher and to write a get, and you guys sign it. Yeah. So again, the same thing. So Rav Chisda Amar kosher v'loy sasa. Kosher, don't do it. Rav Barachana Amar kosher v'sasa. It's kosher and do it. Rav Nachman Amar kosher v'loy sasa. Rav Sheshes Amar kosher v'sasa. Rav Amar kosher v'loy sasa. Rav Yosef Amar kosher v'sasa. Right? You have to wonder why the Gemara doesn't just list them all together. Right? It's why do they have to say each one of machlokes on to base and some switch it. Right? Some switch the last shitas of Rabbah and Rav Yosef. Okay, so it's a machlokes whether you should do this type of thing or not. Fine. Amar l'asara kisvu get. Said to 10 people, write the get. Tarabanan. Amar l'asara kisvu get v'tnu le'ishti. The guy says to 10 people, write the get and give it to my wife. So did he mean that all 10 people have to do this? So the Gemara says no. Echad kaisav al yedei kulam. One writes for all of them. Cool. That's it. So why did he do it for? He just wanted 10 people to be there in order to publicize that he's getting divorced. Kulchem ksuvu, but if he says all of you should write it, echad kaisav b'mayim kulam, then one has to write it and all 10 have to stand there. And then the other case is halichu get l'ishti. If he says take the get to my wife, echad ma'ilach hayidei kulam, one takes it to all of them. Kulchem halichu. If all of them say it, then echad ma'ilach b'mayim kulam, one brings it while all 10 are there. Fine. So the Gemara asks, what happens if he counts them? He says, meaning till now we're saying he tells 10 people. Here he says 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Right? Does that mean he wants all 10 on it or not? Rav Huna Amar Mana ain't a kakulchem. Mana is not like all of them, and you don't have to. Mana is like all of them. One is where he counted each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the other one was where he just counted some. Okay, so which one is which? So Amri Lola Hai Gisa, Amri Lola Hai Gisa. One says this way, one says that way. Meaning, one says that if you counted all 10, then they all have to sign. But if you didn't count all 10, they don't. And the other one says the opposite. If you didn't count all 10, then they have to. And they didn't count all 10, they don't have to. Fine. Iskin Rabbi Yehuda made a tikkun. Begita the Kulchem. Rabbi Yehuda is like the ultimate lawyer, it sounds like. He wanted to put everything into this get so that nothing could be misunderstood. He says, when you writing a get in front of all these people, meaning if you said about that you want all these people, so write ksuvu, right? Write a get, I kulchain, or all of you, I call chad v'chad minchain, or any one of you, chasumai, and then sign I kulchain, I call train minchain, all of you, or any two from you, I vilu, right? Bring the get, I kulchain, I call chad v'chad. Meaning, let the husband say, what did you mean? When he says, I'm going to tell this to 10 people to bring a get or to write a get, force the husband to say clearly what it is that he wants, right? So Amarava Zimnin, the guy is l'diburi, but sometimes he's going to cut out his words, right? Va'amar kol chayin v'lo yamar kol chad min chayin v'asilif sulei, and then they're going to come say the get is puzzle, right? And really the get is kosher. So Elamarova, so meaning he says it's not going to work because maybe he's going to stop talking. So Elamarova, ksuba kol chad min choin. Right? This is what he should say. Anyone from you should write the get. Chasuma kol trei min choin. Any two of you should sign it. Ayvilu kol chad min choin. And any one of you should bring it. So therefore, if he says that, that means it's automatically it's going to be a good get. There's going to be no issues. Okay. Hadron Allah ha'omer l'chaim. I realized we had a false l'chaim in the last parak because we skipped 2 blot.
So I'm gonna go.
There's no
We'll
such
make it
thing
up
as a
tomorrow.
false
We'll
l'chaim.
That's it's a god of the Gemara.
We'll make it
I
up
know.
Matzah Tisha B'Av.
Yeah,
Don't
but
worry.
then we don't.
Yeah. Motzei Tisha B'Av, I guess you'll have to have a l'chaim. Anyways, okay. So then the Mishnah says, Misha Achsu Kerdaikus. So we're going to see in the Gemara, Kerdaikus is some sort of wine and not inspired, but something that happens from wine. So if somebody was grabbed on by a Kerdaikus, for Amar, Kisu get Ishtin. He said, write the get for my wife. Meaning he was a little delirious. I think that would be the word. And he said, write a get for my wife. Loyam Maklum, we don't trust him. And as if he said nothing. Amar Kisu get Ishti. But if he said, write a get for my wife, and then the Kerdaikus grabbed onto him, and then he went back and said, don't write it. Then his last words are nothing. Meaning basically, whatever he says when he was grabbed by this wine, by this Kerdaikus, doesn't count. Now, this next one, I have to tell you a Ma'aseh Shahaya that happened today in camp. Nishtatek, if a guy became mute, right? And they said to him, should we write a get to your wife? And he shook his head. They check him 3 times. If he says no for no and yes for yes, right? Meaning Rashi says you ask him 6 questions, 3 that require a yes answer, 3 that require a no answer. If he shakes his head to all 6 properly, that means he has enough das, and then then he could give it. So even though he's a mute, right? But if he could answer, he's not deaf, he's just mute. So he could hear. So as long as he answers properly, that means he has das. So today I was dominating, there's a special needs camp here, high functioning special needs that I dominate them in. And they call up this kid for an aliyah, probably like 17, 18-year-old kid, call him up for an aliyah. And everybody takes out their cameras to video him. I don't know. Okay, I thought okay, because he's giving a special needs kid an aliyah. So and the counselor turns to me after davening. He says, "You know what just happened there?" He says, "This kid was mute for 3 years. He was mute for 3 years, and 3 days ago he just started talking. And they said he's not stopped talking. He's talking a blue streak. They can't get him to stop talking to go to sleep at night. So this is his first aliyah. It was first aliyah in a bunch of years because he just started talking. Right? It's crazy mice. And then I get to learn this mission. I was like, wow, okay, you can't make it up, right? Made me feel better that we skipped the 2 daf because otherwise it wouldn't have been today's, right? But anyway, no, it was a fascinating story. It's unbelievable. But anyways, okay, so Zog the Gemara. My Kerdaikus, now we go fast. This is now now I just also want to say, don't think I'm going to rattle off this Gemara that I don't use or have looked in an art scroll to get this Gemara. I mean, because you can't. It's impossible. These words are wild, right? These next 3 blot. Anyways, my Kerdaikus, Amar Shmuel, the Nechtev Chamr Chadatav de Matzarta. It means that he was grabbed by this new wine that came straight out of the wine press. So I guess it's very strong. I said nechtav, the nechte, right? It grabbed him. The smell of this fresh pressed wine is so strong it made him cuckoo. So when it says, okay, so why do you have to call it kerdaikus? We're listening misha nashcha yain chadash. Why don't we just say somebody was bit, right? Nash means he was bit. by this new wine. Why do you have to say kurdaikus? The harucha kurdaikus shma. This ruach, this thing that causes a guy to get cuckoo is a kurdaikus. Fine. The mainaf kamina. Who cares what it's called? It's called a kamiyah. For a kamiyah, right? So anybody who's familiar with Svardim and Mikubalim, right? Iran, it's kamiyahs, yeah. So you get a kamiyah, right? A kamiyah is like an amulet that they do. People still do it nowadays. They, it's like some sort of necklace, and they write all sorts of refuahs, and some people find that it helps, right? So you got to write the right recipe inside the kamiyah. So that's what it's saying. You have to know what's wrong with this guy in order to write the proper kamiyah. Fine. Maya Suse, how do you heal it? So then, Bisra Sumka Agumre V'Chamra Marka. You take red meat, yeah, and you put it on coals. Gumre means coals, and then you take wine that's diluted, and I guess you drink that, and that will heal you. Amar Abaye, Amrli Aim. My mother told me. We know that Abaye did not have a mother; he was a yosem, right? So this is the woman that brought him up.
His nanny.
It's nanny, yeah, basically. So L'Shimsha, now we're going to go through all sorts of medical stuff. L'Shimsha, for heat, right? Too much sun. Pasiyoima, on the first day, Kuzu de Maya, you have to drink water.
We had this in Shabbos and Brachos, all these cases, right? That he did it.
We had it, and I think Chagiga, a little bit in Shabbos, I think. Yeah, there's a few places in Shabbos.
Abaye's mothers did.
Correct. Oh, now that Abaye's mother, yeah. Was that in Shabbos?
I think it was Shabbos. No?
I don't remember. I think so.
We've had it a few times.
Yeah. So okay. So one day drink water. 2 days. So the first day drink water. Second day, do bloodletting. Then have what we just said, the red meat on coals with diluted wine. The shimsha tikta. But let's say it's an old sunburn or sunstroke, whatever it is, meaning it's been in him for a while. Let's see, so bring a black black hand for the kari shesiv erev, cut it open both ways, and then shave the middle of the head, meaning of the person's head, and put the chicken on it. And leave the chicken on his head until it gets stuck to his head. And then put the guy into the water and let him stand up in the water to his neck until he becomes faint. Then he should swim and then go up from the water and then sit, and then hopefully he'll get better.
Just before they check the chicken, or they don't check the chicken, they just cut it a couple times. And
I was wondering if they just slice it lengthwise and widthwise. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I thought somebody's going to ask you to do this in the 9 days.
Very good. Very good. With the siyum, you make a siyum first. Yeah. So if
it's for refuah, what do we have such a question for? It's for refuah, isn't it?
Yeah. So by the way, it's a big machlokes what the story is with these refuahs nowadays, right? Do we just the mitzias changed? Right? Is the Yam Shel Shleima on this? What does he hold? I don't remember now. I don't remember. Oh no, he's right. He says
my
that
days with the Lyme disease, Yaakov, in the mirror. I think when everybody had the Lyme disease, took the pigeons and ate out of your belly button, and how many died was how bad you had. Right?
Barrett's. That was
hepatitis.
That was either hepatitis or that other thing where you sleep and sleep.
Hepatitis. That was mono. Hepatitis.
Okay, what's the difference? It was the sick.
No, not mono. Epstein-Barr. Epstein-Barr. They do it for.
All right, whatever. I don't know why they
like a bunch of medical professional journals here. Look at this.
Mamish, all these chicken killers amongst us. Right? So anyways, he said the Yam Shel Shleima said that I think the Ga'ainim made a takana that these things don't apply anymore. You can't do these things anymore. Something like that. I think Rabbi Razner mentioned it. Anyways, lechel karti, eat leeks. Right, you know these type of Gemara is going to have leeks in it. Probably will have cress at some point, and all these type of things. Right. So take leeks, and then go. I'm sorry, go down the lake. Stay in the water until his neck at the cholish alma ilave, until he gets faint. Velimud and swim. Get up and sit down. The shimsha for the shimsha for the again with the sunstroke. Bisra sumka agumri v'chamra marka. Take the raw meat, the red meat. I'm sorry, and then put it on the coals and chamra marka, and then the talga bisra shmeina agumri v'chamra chaya. Right. So now for talga is some sort of, if you have the chills. So you take fat meat, put it on coals, and have chamra chaya, means undiluted wine. And the Gemara brings a strange story. Rav Amram Chasiduk, he have a Mitzayin lay bei Reish Galusa, when the Reish Galusa, right? Reish Galusa was the head of the Golas, right? Sometimes they were not the tzaddik. They didn't get the tzaddik of the year award. The people from the Reish Galusa, yeah. So Rav Amram, they were not happy with him. Rashi says they weren't happy with him because he was machmer too much, right? He was too machmer, so they decided to go after him, right? So
he probably didn't let them have hot dogs at the game.
No, he was machmer. He didn't let.
That's what I'm saying. He probably didn't let them.
And then he got ticked off. He's saying I should watch out tonight. So anyway, have a magnu be atalga. They wanted he made him lay in the snow. The next day they would tell him, what do you want? We'll bring you anything you want. Whatever I'm going to tell them I want, they're going to switch it. So I want red meat on coals with diluted wine. So they brought him the opposite. Fat meat, agumre on coals with chamra chaya, not diluted wine. So that's exactly what he wanted. And that healed him. That made him warmer. Shama Yalsa heard, right? She was the daughter of the Reish Galusa, right? Yeah. Umaylale, I think she, right?
No, she was she was Rav Nachman's wife.
She was Rav Nachman's wife, but I think she was, Rashi says, Rashi calls, he was the son of the Bein Nesias.
The amazing thing here is, didn't we have that Gemara where the mother said, do the thing, we wanted to know why he doesn't do the opposite, and then there's no shalom bayis? No, that's lying. Here, we're like, right, yeah, go for it.
Right. Very good. Very good. Yeah, it's good tushtel. So anyway, so Yalsa heard, when
it comes to meat, it doesn't matter.
Do you think that's a pshat? Maybe.
That's the parents shot we're going with anyways.
Peretz had a good line tonight. It's Peretz's second good line tonight. He said he's going to see him by my brother. I said, what's he making to see him on? Peretz says steak. Right? Anyways. So Shama Yalsa heard about this. So Maila the Mesusa. She took him to the bathhouse. So Mukmi le b'maya de Mesusa, and he stood in the water of the bathhouse. Until, meaning there was so much red meat coming out of him that it was coming out of his pores. It made the water change to red. Right? And his basar, his flesh, was becoming spotted. Right? So that's how that's how it got out of his system. Rav Isaac,
we'll call it the meat sweats.
The meat sweats. I hear. I guess
it's called the meat sweats. Yeah.
That's like that's like the sweaty post-cholent nap. Right? Yeah. So Rabbi Yosef, he asked Berechaya. So Rabbi Yosef, when he was cold, he would go do the mill till he got sweated up. Rav Sheshes, he asked Bikshuri. Rav Sheshes, he would carry beams, meaning basically if you're cold, so get yourself schwitzed up. Chochmah is great, Malacha is great because it heats up its bowel. Fine. Now, this next story, now we have from the more famous stories in Shas. We have Rav Sheshes in the Reish Galusa, but it goes on a little bit down to the next Amud. But since the next Amud is very big and it's Friday, so I think it's kedai to do it. It's not a hard Gemara. It's just a interesting Gemara. Some of the Reish Galusa, Rav Sheshes. So the Reish Galusa said to Rav Sheshes, "My time in Loi Soid Margabon. How come you don't eat by us? Amarlei Deloi Malu Avdi, because your avodim are not good. The Chashidi Erim Menachai, they're chashud on ripping limbs off animals when they're alive." Amarlei mi yema. So Reish Galusa said, "Where'd you get this? Who says?" Amarlei hashta machrina. I'll show you. Amarlei l'shame. So he told his sham zil gonav aiseli chada kara mechayusa. I'm sorry. Go steal one of the legs of the animal that they're preparing. Right? Oh, he told him to steal. Right? Like parents are just saying, he just told him to steal. Again, he told his Eved, go in the kitchen and steal one leg of the animal they're going to bring us. So I think Ben Yehoyada says it was in front of the Reish Galusa, so it wasn't a problem. Right? It was in front of him. So I see lay. So he brought him one leg. Amar lahu. So Shesha said to the Reish Galusa, "Ahad muli, had mi dechevasa." Put out the different pieces of the meat. Aisu tlas kari, asiva kameh. So they brought out all the meat and had only 3 legs. Amar lahu habai l'shalosh raglayim havi. Are you serving me an animal that only has 3 legs? So pasuk. So they went and they grabbed the leg off of another animal who was alive, and they brought it to him. He told the shamash, now put your leg there that you stole. And he put it there. You just brought me an animal that has 5 legs. As you hear what kind of scam Rav Sheshes pulled, he had him steal a leg. When they brought him out an animal, he brought him out the animal with only 3 legs because he ripped off one of the legs. Then he says, okay, the only 3 legs. So then they went and got another leg, which was Erim and Achai, and then he had his servant put a 5th leg. So now he obviously caught these guys. Right? Now I don't know how he knew that they ripped off a leg from a live animal. Maybe they had an extra leg in the kitchen or something. So I don't know. I don't understand that part. Either way, Amar Lei, so he told Rav Sheshes, Ihachi, Levdu Kamei Shami, the Mar Belecha. Why don't you put your own mashkiach there and eat? Amar Lei L'chai, he said, okay, we'll do that. Krivu Taka Kamayu. So then they brought a plate to Rav Sheshes, right? Va'aisu Kamei Bisra, and they brought meat to him. Va'aisivu Kamei Ristana Dechanka Chamsa. And they put in front of Rav Sheshes a piece of meat that you can, with like a piece of bone that's hiding in it, that can cause a guy to choke. So Gishashe, so again, Rav Sheshes was blind. So Gishashe, he felt the meat, V'shakla Karcha B'sudri, and then he found this bone that they were hoping he would swallow and choke on. He found that bone by feeling around the meat, and he put it under his napkin. Right, so then they wouldn't get that he wouldn't choke from it. The pasuk the achel amri, after he ate, they told him. So now they're surprised why he didn't choke. Ignav lon kisa the kaspa. They were chayshid what he did. They thought they were chayshid that he took the bone and hid it. So they stole from. They said somebody stole a silver coin. Also, when they were coming to look for it, Ashku the Kruch of the Sudri, they found this bone wrapped in his towel. Amrilei. So they said to the Reish Galusa, the only reason he came here is to cause us tsar. He really wasn't going to eat. He didn't want to eat. He didn't want to spend time. He was just here to make us meshuga. Amrlahu. So Rav Shesha says, "Ana mechal achli. I did eat. Fatami b'tayim dechivara. And when I ate some of the meat, it tasted like the animal had tsaras. We did not make any sort of tsaras meat. Go check. Go check the place. If you have a black spot on a white place or a white spot on a black place, the kusahu, that's a malchus baduk ashkahu. So they checked it out, and then they found it. So then they found that it had saras. Kika Nafik, or Sheshes was leaving, so now they wanted to get him. So Korule Bira, they dug a pit, and they made a trap. They put a tzipsa, they put like a mat on top of it so that he would walk because he was blind. He would walk on top of this mat, and I guess that was to hide it from his people. And because to him it doesn't make a difference because he was blind. And then he would hopefully fall into it. And they said, come, sit down here. Come over here and sit down. And they want him to fall. So Rav Chisda made like he neighed, like a sus, Rashi says, like a sus, like he made a weird noise so that Rav Sheshes would chop not to listen. So he told the child, right? This is what they did back then. You used to go ask a child, whatever the pasuk the child was learning, you took it as an omen, right? So which is a whole shiloh unto itself, how you could do that. Telling me a pasuk. You should either go to your right or go to your left. So he told the shamas, Michael Chazis, what do you see? I see this mat thrown down on the ground. Turn away from it. And then when they left, when they got away from this, how did you Rav Sheshes know about this trap? First, because you made this you made this weird noise. And I asked the child a pasuk. And also I was chayshid these avodim that they're up to no good. So Mamela, I knew to be aware of these things. Okay, whatever a strange story, but that's all for tonight. Okay, tomorrow is all Shloima with Shloima Melech with what was the name of that shade?
Ashmedai.
Ashmedai. Yeah, tomorrow is the story of Shloima and Ashmedai.
That's a little interesting because in one of the Purim stories it says that Haman. I don't know if this is based on anything. I just know the kid stories.
Tomorrow,
children, what are you learning?